Well, hello, folks. Top Gun here, and I got a good one for you today. I know you've probably been waiting a little while, but I've been kind of crazy with the live streams and with actually working, a daytime job. But I got some stuff for you today. I'm not going to do deep dive because, again, I need to be heading to work. So I'm airing this right before I leave. Yay! I got showered, throw some work clothes on shortly, and out the door I go. But before I do, some information I would like to make available to the public and explain when talking about security and security options. So there's a lot out there and a lot that can overwhelm you. So if you're looking for some simple answers, go away. Just go away. You don't even want to stick around. Yeah, I'm going to do some math and some market chart stuff after I talk a little security. But this will just confuse the crap out of you. You're not ready for this. You can't handle the security because you don't know how to do your own research. You come learn from me. All right. So, anyways, those of you that have now stuck around past this and actually want to learn something, hi. As I said, I will never lie to you guys. So there are options for security out there for changing your computing. Most people have whatever, maybe a Samsung, an Android phone, and maybe a Windows computer or a Mac at home, and they don't really skim the surface or go any deeper. They don't think about it twice, how everything's built, how everything's maintained. What computers you choose are important. Who builds your computers are important. Those supply chains are important. There are some computers to stay away from. There are some computers that are good to buy. I believe Lenovo is a very bad plan because their supply chain is not locked down. However, I do believe Asus is a very good option. Their supply chain is locked down very well because there are different aspects of security and issues. So what computers you buy, they're good. The Mac computers, the hardware, it's great. Okay. Now the operating system. You got to do some research, figure out what brands you like, and go see if they're safe. You know who's really good at telling that? Papa Boner. Go find him in paulsechain.com chat when you get to Telegram. Meanwhile, we got options for operating systems. So, Windows, it's full of exploits. It's full of issues. It's got lots of backdoors. The government loves when you use Windows. Apple's locked up tighter than a drum. But the Apple mob, the iStore, the App Store, whatever you want to call them, all those guys that own Apple, they're locking your files up. They have access to it, and as much as it's locked up tight as a drum, it still has exploits. It still has holes. Everything does. And if they make a misstep with your information on the cloud, oopsie doodle, anything that was saved on your phone you didn't even realize backed up to the cloud, yeah, that's been unencrypted and released. That's why you can't store your seeds there. So, what do you do in a day and age like this when you can't trust anyone else with your security? Now, there are options if you want to do some research and look a little further at what makes a network safe or computing safe. Now, generally, with Windows and Mac, you can keep yourself relatively safe, and there are options around. But first off, we're going to talk about an option people don't usually talk about much: Linux. Oh no, Linux is so scary, it's daunting. Yeah, well, Linux was written kind of by hackers for hackers at first, and it's evolved. There is user interface simplicity in Ubuntu. It can actually be learned. There's learning resources. Check it out. Ubuntu.com. Ubuntu.com. That's the official website. From there, you can go to download. But I don't have the money for Ubuntu. Oh, it's freeware. You don't pay for Ubuntu. You don't pay for Linux. That's why it's made for hackers by hackers. It's complicated, but there are tutorials, documents, other ways to download. So you have options when looking at software. If you want to learn Ubuntu, this gives you the ability to control the aspects of your security, to lock down your system with less exploits, and not to have to share all your information with Apple. It's an option. But you make mistakes with this, you might leave yourself open to attack. So do your research, read the tutorials, see if this is interesting to you. You may want to play around with it before you do anything crazy. If you've got a spare computer around, you can install it on. There's also other ways to run it, like external thumb drives. You can install it on those as bootables and then plug it in and boot to this instead of Windows on your computer. So you can play with it without wiping everything off your computer. You can learn, figure out if you like it, figure out what the issues are, do your research. There's a lot right here on the main website for Ubuntu. Now, you don't need Ubuntu, but this is a good base for the next thing we're going to talk about. Tails. Tails, Tails.boum.org. That's the official website for Tails. Now, Tails is not a full operating system. It's Linux-based, like Ubuntu, but it does open a small, like you ever go to the public library and go to their computer and you can't click on much, not a whole lot of programs, but you can surf the internet. Oh, welcome to the public library of security. So, you can boot up a small, little teeny version of an operating system that lets you go view the internet. And so far, it is immune to viruses, immune to spamware, as long as it's not already on your computer before you install this and try to use it, which is back where we talk about firmware and your devices. We'll get to that in a moment. But this basically leaves no trace on your computer. Computer's secure, lets you use the Tor network, get around. It has amnesia, so it doesn't keep your settings unless you use a persistent storage. You choose to encrypt a file and keep it alongside your operating system for later viewing. It has its own security toolbox, which is very intricate and probably confuse the crap out of you. And leave no trace on the internet, kinda. So yourself, this does this relays and helps kind of bury you, but in a way, the wake you leave, the digital signature you leave, people will still be able to tell that there's a ghost on the network, that this software is being used, potentially from your IP address. So this hides you very well. You need to avoid online surveillance and censorship with this software. Oh yeah, avoid tracking and changing identity, like getting your ID, your IP address, pinned down with your use of this software potentially, because this is kind of pro stuff which I haven't even used yet. I only know of its existence and I'm going to toy around with it. There is more information, and there is more information. There's more information about surveillance, self-defense, tools, tips, and how-tos for safer online communication. So the idea of this ssd.f.org, EFF, this kind of just tells you a little bit more about electronic surveillance. Some tips about how to keep yourself safe, because people are watching. So if you're new to security, you want some tools and guides. Teaching security to others, if you finally got there. I'm going to have to read this section because apparently I've chosen this job. And popular guides. Your security plan, attending protests, protecting yourself and social networks, creating a strong passwords, how to use Signal on iOS. I don't even know what that is. Oh, I don't know what Signal is. I have something to research. I found something as I decided to peruse and put this together. Also, securityinabox.org. This one's got a nice badge of education. What do you need to protect? Your passwords, your communication, your phone and computers, your internet connection, and your files. Everything about your digital traces, really, if you want to get nice and practical about keeping yourself completely safe and isolated. I don't go this far because I'm okay being doxxed. I'm not afraid people are going to come after me. You don't need to do this in your life. Most people won't get hacked. But some people want the option or want to learn. So this is not something you have to do, folks. It's not something I even do myself this far in extent. I use some of these tips and tricks because I've been around for a long time. But as you can see, these pages, I haven't gotten a chance to look into or dive into. So these are great little tips and tricks, but again, how do you really keep invisible? When you're using Tails, you need to put it into something else, which is also a VPN or decentralized VPN, a DPN. So the difference between a DPN and a VPN is important because what is a traditional VPN? Static address, fixed tunnel construction, build VPN network. Okay, what that means is you're coming in at one point, your IP address interfacing with their first proxy, and you go through their tunnel and come out at the same point. Point A, point B are kind of static. They don't change. So although no one can see you going through the tunnel, there's an in and out point. That can be tracked a little bit. And the people that run the tunnel, they say they don't keep logs. But how do you really know if you're that paranoid? Well, you can build your own proxy chain with Ubuntu and Linux. You can do some research on YouTube. But decentralized proxies, if you're going to go that far and you've gotten into crypto and you love decentralization, you stuck through this video, the beauty of a DPN, the protocol is set up so that tunnel, it shifts with the decentralized, kind of like dynamic DHCP. The decentralized allows for multiple sources to route you. It's a kind of agreed network that's not unlike Tor. You can build these chains, use some of them that are in existence, or you can build your own static chains. Or you can use a pre-purchased VPN and trust them. But if you've gone this far in the video, I'm going to assume you're going to want to go further. So these are some of the things I mentioned sometimes, which I thought I would give a little bit of a, here's where you can go do your research if you really want to go deeper into your security on top of hardware wallets to protect your seed phrase. Because very simply, a lot of people, why do I need the hardware wallet? Well, if you believe that you're prone to be viewed or spied on at any time, so again, I've brushed over this, why get your computers from certain places? What if my computer, if you've already been perusing Pornhub and you are loused with viruses or just downloading torrents or whatever you do on the internet and you are loused with viruses and you try to use Tails, those viruses can install on Tails through your OS as you download and try and build this. You're not safe. Another thing Tails can't protect you from is firmware viruses. Now, on a computer, traditionally, the firmware is called the BIOS. This is a small microchip in the motherboard, which to essentially say, when your motherboard, when you hit the power button, it's kind of like waking up in the morning. And when you yawn and stretch and check everything's there, wiggle your fingers, that's the BIOS. It goes, hey, hard drive, you there, you spin. Hey, memory, you there, you lighten up, perfect. Hey, OS, you ready to get up and take over? That's what your nervous system, it's your BIOS, your firmware. It controls the hardware and tells it how to initiate and run the software. Beautiful. So if that BIOS is corrupt and there's a virus in there, no amount of operating system it's there from the start. It can install into whatever's running. It can put itself into that, hey, part of the checkup test is throw this file there. Great. You're corrupt. You're foobarred. So electronics from certain countries, that maybe are mass produced, or other places that have the CPP, places that are a little interesting and control maniacal. You don't know what's really in your firmware in those devices. So I also, hear people, PlayStations, that'll probably hit you good. PlayStations, you brick your PlayStation, that's a firmware update, the base BIOS of the machine. And interestingly enough, printer drivers, which exist on the computer and are installed through the OS, well, those are kind of firmware as well, because they run the manuals of the printer, actually turning the gears. So there are all sorts of little areas you can bury firmware that you got to watch out for. This is actual stuff that's out there. This is why I'm very careful where I peruse on the internet. I don't stroll around in the bad neighborhoods, so to speak. And I know how to search my registry for unwanted passengers. That's a skill I've had for years and years and years. So I have my security measures. Now, again, I've talked about, it does get kind of tricky when you're talking about what you want to do for security. It really does, depending on how far you want to go. So this is my light peruse over. You stuck over. I'm going to see what the feedback's like. If there's a lot more comments, I will do a deeper dive on this. And I'll actually talk about, well, what if my firmware's been affected Well, another way is get a clean computer, get clean instances of the files, go to your OEM manufacturer. There's usually a BIOS file or a BIOS update, which you can flash your system, which would erase any virus, as long as you have a well-manufactured computer from a good supply chain and no other interests that might be spying that you're worried about. Yeah, you leave the comments. You really want a video, you ask for it, because that's going to take a lot of time for me to do and full-time video. I'm going to have to see like 10,000 views wanting to see, how do we install Ubuntu and put Tails on it, want all the security? Yeah, like, I got to know this is going to take me, like, I work a day job, guys. It's going to take me lots of time to try and put that together. That's intricate. So, we'll skip over to what you want to see. You're degenerates. All you want to know about is the markets. Give me the money, give me the money, give me the money. All right, so here we go, folks. Off to a start. We're going to look at the SPX. That's right, the S&P 500 index. It's in pain, horrible pain, and we have red impressions of the Instagram. We're just in a deep dive, no sign of descent. Oh, and we're not even in oversold conditions yet in the RSI. Oh, poor Peter Schiff and his stocks. Okay, the NASDAQ. Oh, it's trying to fight. It's trying to fight. We see a small correction, but still red impressions on the Instagram. We don't have a lot of hope in the market. If Mike Bullard, I think it's Mr. Bullard from the Fed Commission, who's usually stomps all over the bulls, has another one of his half-baked comments. Thank you, Maverick. About how the stock market needs a 75-point base hike, we're going to see this red pain get even worse. We've seen the volatility increase, and the dollar is still crashing. Even the Dow Jones is taking a beating. That's right. It's getting beaten worse than Will Smith's Emmy friend. Ooh, I went there. So yeah, we're looking at the dollar index, and it's consolidating. So that's where I've talked about before in the indexes. You usually see the dollar going up when the market's in pain, but the market's not going down much. This isn't going down much. We have a little bit of a consolidation period. So the market's still always very, very confused what the Fed's going to do next. This is creating a lot of pain, but we don't have a lot of good valuations. And looking at this consolidation, we are getting dangerously close to forming red impressions on the Instagram and getting close to the oversold conditions, which is not good, folks. The market's asking, any buyers, any buyers, any buyers? No buyers? All right, we're going to plummet. Yeah, the dollar is not actually as strong as people like to imagine. Of course, if the dollar does plummet, we will see a rebound in the markets. That is generally the way it goes. These are all less than 1%, which is why we have red, but they should be contrary indicators. Apple is being propped up nicely, but still the pain is coming. Even with cash rich and cash flows, they are reporting less income. That is right, pain to come. All right, and taking a look, let's take a deeper look. So we're looking at the MACD. We are struggling and fighting. We're looking towards actually a little bit of a rebound in Apple. If that leads the charge, then that might actually cause a rebound in the SPX. Oof. Yeah, dollar might take a beating. Apple might lead the charge. That's kind of the painting picture here. The souffle, Tesla, that's actually coming down hard. Of course, it's trying to do the same fight. However, we are not undersold or overbought. It's going to be questionable whether we get any kind of dead cat rally in the tech stocks that all this week, but I don't believe so, as Netflix is showing, being the lead indicator. It's trying to fight, but look at this RSI condition. Okay, we may go to green impressions. Netflix has been beaten hard. There may be a bit of a rally, but there's going to be more of a beating down, folks, to come. These positions are not favorable to buy into. They are more favorable for shorting. When we look at the U.S. oil index, this is why inflation is still running rampant. As long as oil prices are fighting and going in an upward trend, inflation is heading upwards, and the dollar is getting weaker, and the times are getting rough. So right now, oil is still kicking for an increase, heading up there to retest the charts probably around 114, which means inflation is strong. The economy is slowing down. This is a lot of pain. So as we get into the tulips, looking at BTC, yes, Maverick Wall Street, I watch you all the time. looking at this, we are bringing the pain. Again, the cryptos tend to be a little bit of a risk on asset, which is why I love them when we look at them. And we are getting risky in the market. So right now we are heading to retest 35,000. Not necessarily today, but I believe this week. And until we establish a bottom at 35,000, there's not a lot of room for market rally. We are in pain mode this month, folks. However, Paulse Chain is coming, so I'm looking forward to that, and so are a lot of other investors. Hex always being a contrary indicator, not always. That's kind of like the scam. So 10,000x, again, at its peaks, which no one's probably gotten to enjoy. This, to some holders, has probably brought a good 1,000x, and this asset still is lined up to outproduce Bitcoin. It is a better Bitcoin. Better Bitcoin. The inflation goes better places. It's awesome. It really is. It's at the beginning. There's less than 100,000 adopters. It's less than $1 a coin. Imagine finding Bitcoin when it was $10 a coin. It's kind of almost relatively the same equivalent with this currency. I think that makes it awesome. Meanwhile, Ethereum is always dragged along with Bitcoin. Ooh, isn't it kind of funny how much those charts match? A little extra volatility, but very, very close. What else do we share? Ooh, BNB. That's right, you get kicked around about the same. And why do I recognize these charts? Why are they so painful? Oh, that's right, the NASDAQ, which is even more volatile. Wow, the stock markets are crypto, or the crypto is stock markets, and people don't want to admit that all of it is chasing speculation for somebody else is going to find this asset more valuable than you did when you bought it. That is generally the same game all the way around, except save us, RH, with Paulse Chain and Paulse X, the heartbeat of Paulse Chain, having a buyback and burn revenue actually produced by the system trading and exchanging money will be pumped into the value of the system. That means linking the revenue to the price production. It's better than a valuation. You don't have to assume anything. It tells you what its revenue is doing to the price. That is awesome. Absolutely awesome. So we've got some great things coming. This is the markets as we look at them. Of course, if you need to see more about market correlation, I'm showing you a few assets through TradingView. This, thank you, Gerardo, shout out, is a wonderful site, CryptoWatch, CryptoWatt, WAT.ch. This website will allow you to go ahead and search whatever cryptos you want and see for correlation and decorrelation. So as we can see, Hex likes to decorrelate. So as the market goes into pain, we should still have a lot of up points as it looks like a safe haven in the actual markets. So now that we've taken a look at the charts and the correlations, Paulse X. Now this is only monopoly money, folks. That is right. This is just the trading platform for the testnet as we are waiting for the mainnet launch likely this month. Now we can take a look. We've got a lovely banner here with a watch list so that we can look at the top assets and their increase and decrease rates. Now again, these are just monopoly money, but this is how we'll be able to view all tokens. Most likely, app will be at .mainnet.pulsex.com or just app.pulsex.com once mainnet has launched. That is my likely guess. These should be simple URLs that will be available on pulsechain.com. So this will be a nice little market maker to watch, and I'll be able to go through and call out various prices. And on Rooting for the Underdogs, a nice new little project, we've got a nice little healthy price chart on I Am Crypto. This price chart is trading on Binance Skyam Chain. You do have to operate over there in order to buy some of this for now. It is coming to Paulse Chain. That's right, the owners are going to clone this, not Richard Hart, and they are going to give free airdrop to all of their holders and bring it over to Paulse Chain when it launches. So this is the escape plan to get off of Binance Smart Chain. If you didn't have a way to get into Paulse Sacrifice and you want to get into Binance, you want to get into Paulse, that might be a way to get over there since it's being copied over and free airdrop to the holders. And it's a small project, which means, look, only 801 addresses. All right, so basically, not telling you have to do this. I'm not a financial advisor, but this asset, you got to look at the liquidity. Is it going to get pulled like other Ethereum liquidities, or is it going to be properly and nicely balanced on Paulse Chain? We'll have to wait and see, folks. Not a financial advisor, not telling you what you should do with your money or your computers, just giving you options and the information as I see it. All right. Said I had a good one for you today. I wanted to make this one nice and quick. Hope you enjoyed. Remember to check out Top Gun Hexadian at Twitter and Top Gun Crypto School on Telegram. And I even got a TikTok going here. I'm trying, folks. I am trying to do my best to bring you some quality content, not spam you unless there's actually some points to drive home, something to talk about for the weekend. I will be coming at you this Saturday on someone else's channel. I'll be tweeting it out. Unfortunately, I can't remember the channel name off the top of my head. I've been talking to too many people. And the long vacation will be coming over Sunday, I believe at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to talk about Power City. And at some point, I may even talk about my portfolio. What assets have I been interested in Paulse Chain? Simply because they've taken the idea to produce revenue like a business and link it to their asset, like when Apple does buybacks, except they'll never sell on your head. They burn it. They leave the revenue in the system in the liquidity to reinforce the value of the asset. Whew. I believe this is really revolutionary because it should have been done in the stock market from the first place. It's not just a gimmick, it's putting your money where your mouth is. You think your asset's going to be good, it'll buy up your asset. You'll put that revenue in if you really think you're going to get used. So if I can do a valuation on your project, if it really brings utility, then I love it. I will do a deep dive. I think I've shown that quite evidently enough. So again, thanks for tuning in. Doing my best to get to everybody when I can, but I am wearing thin. So if I don't get back to you, you don't hear from me. I may have taken a little bit of a vacation, but I'll try and keep the videos coming. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in. And until next time, future is looking bright. Oh yeah, PulseChain.com.